Hey everybody, Rachel Ray here. In every class for our very first cooking camp together, we're gonna cook together, not just us, but a lot of my friends. You guys are gonna learn so many great techniques. You're gonna have so much fun, and at the end, you get to eat and share it with all the people you love. And you know what I love? Everything we're doing together is gonna benefit the Boys and Girls Club of America and a brand new scholarship project. So we're doing well for others while we're making great food and doing well for ourselves and the people that we love. Thank you to all of our sponsors for making this possible. Game on. Let's turn up the heat.
Yes, everybody. Hold on a second, though. Hold on. I know like an emoji Rachel Ray is fun and everything, but what do you think in the real life Rachel Ray to say hello? Rach, are you around by chance?
I am right here, and that was weird, and I'm going to make sure to never watch that again. I just wanted to welcome everybody to day 2 of camp. We had an amazing class yesterday with people from Africa to Canada, from all 50 states. It was just fantastic. Today, Bobby Flay, Chef Flay, is ready and waiting in his kitchen. And if you guys think you love mac and cheese and maybe you've had it out of a box, he's gonna school you, because today you're gonna have the real deal mac and cheese. And I just wanted to say to Bobby a personal thank you for doing this. Everyone is so excited. Tens of thousands of families are watching, and up to 10,000 people are just in this one Zoom along, cook along with Chef Flay. And Bobby is also a great dad. Sophie's beautiful daughter is a broadcast journalist in Los Angeles, California. Shout out to Sophie. And as I was saying yesterday in class, whatever you want to be in life, whether you want to be a rocket scientist or a great journalist or a great chef, everybody needs to know how to cook and appreciate food. It improves the quality of all of your life, the whole of your life. So welcome to our camp counselor of the day. My gratitude to Chef Bobby Flay. Love you, Bobby.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel. Hey, Bobby.
Thanks so much, Cappy. Really appreciate it.
We appreciate you being here, as Rach said, teaching a little real deal mac and cheese action for all the kids and families. Yeah. So tell us, walk us through what we're going to be making today, maybe ingredients everyone should have in front of them, and take us through the lesson plan.
I mean, I just think that everybody really loves mac and cheese. And I think that I would say that most of us probably eat a version of mac and cheese that is made out of a blue box. We're going to use a blue box today too, but we're going to use some pasta. We're going to cook the pasta from start to finish. I'm going to show you how to make a delicious cheese sauce that's going to be part of the pasta. And then we're going to put some breadcrumbs on top to make it a little bit crispy. But it's just a handful of ingredients. It doesn't really take it doesn't take a ton of effort. As long as we have all the ingredients in front of us, which I'm going to go through right now, we should be kind of good to go. And then in very short order, we'll all be eating some delicious mac and cheese. So here's what we need. So we need, Barilla was nice enough to send me some pasta. So these are called shells, which are, you know, the classic shape of pasta for mac and cheese. You know, this is what they look like. And they actually get a little bit bigger, you know, when you cook them. Right now they're kind of firm because they're dry, but we're going to boil them in some water. And then we're going to make a cheese sauce. So for the cheese sauce, we need just a couple of ingredients. We need some all-purpose flour, 4 tablespoons, 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. And then we need some milk, which is over here. I have 4 cups of milk in a pot that we're going to just heat up so it gets nice and hot. And then some American cheese, because we definitely want it to look like the classic mac and cheese that we're talking about. We're going to make it from scratch. So we just think it's going to be maybe just a little bit better than the classic. And then we need a little extra butter so that we can butter the pan itself. And Rachel was nice enough to give me one of her awesome oven-proof pans that, you know, it's from Rachel Ray's line. And I have my own version of these at my house, but Rachel was nice enough to send me a beautiful red one for the mac and cheese, but it doesn't really matter. As long as you have a pan that can go into the oven safely and cook in there for a little while, we'll be totally fine. And then we have some Parmesan cheese, which is kind of a nice, dry, salty cheese. So there's two kinds of cheeses, the American cheese and then the Parmesan as well. And then we have some breadcrumbs and some salt and pepper and a little bit of olive oil. Then over here on the stove, come on over here, we need, so like I said, we need the milk to be a little bit warm or scalded. Then we need a pot that we're gonna cook the cheese sauce in. And you can see I already have some water boiling, which is what you should have too. So if you haven't turned your water on yet, make sure that you turn it on right away. And we're gonna put some salt right into the water. And we're gonna bring that to a boil. And that's where we're gonna cook the pasta. So I'm just gonna give you guys a couple of seconds to kind of get everything together. And then we'll start cooking. So Kathy, should I wait for a second or?
Yeah, let's stop down for 30 seconds, everybody. If you need to run to the fridge or the pantry, now is the time to do that. And you know, why don't we give a little shout out while you're running to the fridge and the pantry? Let's give a shout out to a big shout out and a high five to the Boys and Girls Club of Kern County in Bakersville, California. They've served over 240,000 meals since they began responding to food insecurity from COVID crisis. So thank you all out there in Bakersville for doing what you do. We really appreciate it. So mac and cheese memories, Bobby? Do you remember your first mac and cheese?
Do I remember my first mac and cheese? No, that would be a very, very long time ago. So I don't remember my first mac and cheese. But mac and cheese is such a classic dish. And you'll see it like on lots of Southern menus as well. It's always a side dish. Like when you go to the South, you know, there's something called meat and three, where like you get to choose like some kind of meat. So it could be like, let's say pork chops, for instance. And then you get to choose like 3 side dishes. And mac and cheese is always, I would say, exclusively part of the meat and three experience. And then, you know, people put all kinds of other things in mac and cheese too. We're doing a really classic one, so it's just the cheese sauce and some breadcrumbs and the pasta. But you can put all kinds of things into your mac and cheese. You know, mushrooms. If you like mushrooms, you can fold some mushrooms in there. You know, some people try to make it like really fancy, and they put things like shrimp and lobster in their mac and cheese. You know, you've seen a lot of that, and you know, in really exclusive restaurants.
Yeah.
But I'm going to show you guys how to make the classic, so that you have the base, so that you understand the foundation and the simplicity of how to make the classic mac and cheese. And then you can use, you know, the next time you make it after this, if you want to add an ingredient that you really love, you can then fold that ingredient into your mac and cheese, and then you have your very own dish.
Perfect. So I'm going to bet people are ready to rock. So let's do this. And Bobby, just a heads up, the computer in front of you is frozen at the moment. So let's use the mobile camera.
All right, fine. No problem.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our pasta and we're going to put it into the boiling water. Now, you really want the water to boil so that the pasta cooks uniformly. All right, so we're going to take half the pasta, put it right into the boiling salted water. And what I like to do is take a spoon or a wooden spoon or something that you can stir and just kind of break it up a little bit so the pasta doesn't stick in there. And we're going to let that cook for about, I don't know, 6 or 7 minutes. Let's see what time it is. It's 2:14, so at like 2:20, something like that, we're going to take it out.
Awesome.
Okay.
And you said, Bobby, do you wait to salt your water until that water's boiling?
It doesn't really matter. You can just put the salt in. You know, whether whether the water is cold or hot, it doesn't matter. Some people like to wait till it's boiling. To me, it just doesn't matter. And basically, like, this is a really cool thing. Like, if you want to taste what the water should taste like, just be careful because it's very hot. But for the parents out there, you know, like, I mean, every kid has been in the ocean and has swallowed some ocean water by accident, right? You get hit by a wave, and all of a sudden, like, you know, you're tasting the ocean. That's what the water should taste like. It should have that kind of salty, briny taste, like you're swallowing a little bit of seawater by accident. That's what the water should taste like for the pasta, so that actually seasons the pasta with a little bit of salt. We want to bring out the flavors of the pasta as well. And you can see the pasta is starting to boil. Then we can start making our cheese sauce. Oops. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take some butter So this is 4 tablespoons of butter, unsalted. I'm going to put this in a pan. I'm going to turn the pan on and let it start to melt. And then right on top of that, just let it melt for a second so it at least coats the bottom of the pan.
What heat should they have their stove at?
What's that?
What heat level should the stove be at under the butter?
Well, right now the heat level should be about medium. And actually, you know what? We should talk about one more thing while we're at. You should turn your oven on now about 400 degrees, something like that. We're just going to use it for, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes total, but it should be preheated at 400 degrees. So we don't want to wait to do that. So if you have an oven and you want to turn it on right now. It's totally fine.
And also, just a note on that, if your oven is a little lower than that now, just crank it up a little bit. Not all ovens are created equal. Not all stoves are created equal, everybody. So don't freak out if something's not bubbling.
Exactly, Cappy. Good point. Okay, so then we're going to pour the flour over the butter. So it's equal parts butter and flour, 4 tablespoons of each. And we're going to take a whisk. We're just going to stir this up. And this is going to make almost like like a paste. Like it's almost like you're making like homemade glue almost, but it's for food. And this is actually what's going to help to thicken the cheese sauce. So in some way, it is kind of like a food glue, you know? All right, so you just want to, that's all you want to do, just like that. And then we're going to take our hot milk, and we're going to pour our hot milk. Just give it a second. Let that happen. I'm sure everybody's milk isn't hot yet. We're going to come over here. Let's check out the pasta. You see it's on a rapid boil there, which is good. We're just going to stir it so that they don't stick together. And then, okay, so you can see my milk is starting to boil here. So we're going to shut this off, and we're going to slowly start to add it to the flour.
And be careful, kids. If you're pouring at home, kids, use help of adult supervision or a ladle if you have to. Bobby's been cooking for a day or two, so he's got some experience.
This is a total adult thing for sure. You want to make sure that everybody's supervising this, especially by the stove. It can be a little warm. So then we're just going to let this. We're going to turn the heat up high. Let it come to a boil, and this will start to actually thicken the milk. So the milk. You know what the texture of milk is, right? It's very thin. It's like water. But we want it to be thicker than that. Because we want the cheese sauce to become, nice and thick, so that it becomes part of the pasta after we marry them together. All right. So we have our sauce going. We have our pasta going, right? We have our oven on over there for later on. Now we take our pan that we're going to bake the macaroni and cheese in, and we're just going to take some butter. And we're just going to coat the pan in some butter so that the mac and cheese doesn't stick when we want to get it out. Just a little coating of butter all around, nice and evenly. Doesn't have to be a lot. Just like that. And then we're going to take our American cheese and our Parmesan cheese. First, the American cheese. I'm going to start, this American cheese is great for cheeseburgers, but it's also great for mac and cheese. I'm just going to put this in, and it's going to melt in that hot milk that's starting to thicken with the flour and the butter. I'm going to take our Parmesan cheese, put this in as well. And on top of that, a little bit of salt and pepper. And then we're going to stir it. We're going to let the cheese, the American cheese and the Parmesan cheese melt. And you can see it's starting to get thick already. And the sauce itself is starting to get that orange tint from the American cheese. Now, if you have American cheese that's like a white American cheese, that's fine as well. It's just not going to turn that sort of orange tint color. It's going to be a white cheese sauce. It's going to be a white colored cheese sauce, which is totally fine. They both taste the same. It's just like, I just like the orange one better because it reminds me of the classic. How are we on time? All right. I think we should take out the pasta. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna let this sauce, this looks really
So
good.
explain the pasta, Bob. I think usually for good al dente pasta, you'd want to kind of cook it maybe a minute or so shy of what the box says. But for this, we're even going a little more because this still has to go in the oven, right?
Well, the pasta, I mean, it says on the box, I think 8 minutes. I'm gonna taste it. It's still a little al dente, but that's okay. This has been now 7 minutes. I'm gonna strain this pasta out. So what I have in my sink, come on over here, Tess, is a strainer, or a colander they call it. And basically what's gonna happen is this is gonna catch all the pasta, and the water's gonna drain through the holes. And then the water's gonna disappear, and we're just gonna have cooked pasta. It's like magic.
Magic.
Here we go. Again, this is another parental supervision moment. It's
Yes.
very hot, and there's steam and all that, so we just need to be careful.
And then also, Bobby, correct me if I'm wrong, if we're making more of a pasta dish, that pasta cooking water would be a great thing to hold on to make a sauce. But since we made our own sauce for mac and cheese, not necessary.
Yes, exactly. Pasta water is very valuable because it has the starch from the pasta itself that it's cooked in.
Yeah.
So it helps to thicken sauces in classic pasta dishes. But this is mac and cheese. All we care about is the pasta and the cheese sauce. And the breadcrumbs too, but like, you know, we want that cheese sauce and that pasta together.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a big bowl here, and I'm gonna put the pasta into the bowl. I might as well use all of it, why not? And we're gonna take our cheese sauce, I'm gonna pour the cheese sauce right over the pasta. You can see now all the cheese is melted, and it's kind of thickened up. Remember, it was just kind of milk before. Now it's a sauce. I'm going to pour the sauce over the mac and cheese. Yum.
Oh, yum.
This is that another magic moment today, right here.
Seriously. So delicious.
Pour it over. And you want to put like a little extra sauce in there. If it looks a little soupy, that's okay, because the pasta is going to absorb the cheese sauce as it bakes in the oven too, and as it sits. How's that look? I'm going to use all this. Delicious. Okay, I'm just going to give it a quick stir. And we're going to pour the mac and cheese into our beautiful Rachel Ray casserole dish. You see the cheese sauce is just surrounding that pasta. And the pasta is drinking up the sauce. Even the pasta likes to drink the cheese sauce, right? And it becomes part of the pasta itself. And those little shells that we had, like the little indentation, the little sort of opening in the shells, that's where the sauce hides. But that's good for you because you're going to be eating. Okay. Then one more small little detail is we take some breadcrumbs. Now these are called Panko breadcrumbs. They're actually a Japanese style breadcrumb. They're very light. If you have just classic American style breadcrumbs or Italian seasoning breadcrumbs, whatever, that works too. We just want a little bit of crunch on top of our mac and cheese. So we're just going to sprinkle this on top. We don't want a lot because we really want it to be about the mac and cheese. So we sprinkle it just kind of one layer just to cover the entire top of the mac and cheese. And then we have some of our reserved Parmesan cheese. Remember, we put the Parmesan cheese in the sauce too, but I reserved a little bit in the recipe to put on top. And this is going to help it get nice and brown as well. Okay. Now we go to our oven that's preheated. We put it in the oven probably for about, I don't know, 8 or 10 minutes. And don't forget, like the pasta's cooked, the cheese sauce is cooked. You see how quickly it happens. All we're doing now is we want the cheese sauce and and the pasta. We want them to become friends in the oven. We want them to get really close and get used to each other because they're like a team now, right? Because they're sort of team delicious. They're gonna be, they're gonna be making sure that when you bite into this mac and cheese, that it tastes amazing. And then on top, we have the breadcrumbs and the Parmesan cheese. That's gonna make it a little bit crispy and a tiny bit like golden brown, which is what all good food looks like. Always want that beautiful golden brown top. Yeah, so we're just gonna let that cook for a few minutes, and then while we're doing that, I think Kathy, we should answer some questions.
Let's definitely do some questions, but let's also stick a poll up on the screen, everybody. We know Bobby used American cheese and some grated Parmigiano Reggiano, but we're gonna stick a poll up on the screen, and you let us know if you have a favorite cheese. Put some favorite cheeses up there. Let's put up American cheese, maybe Parmigiano Reggiano, cheddar, Swiss, blue. Let's see if this pops up here really quick. If not, we'll go to some of your questions.
Yeah, I see it.
Second.
Can I vote?
Think so. I am not seeing. It may be frozen. Apologies if anyone sees it. Let's go to a question we have from Angela. She wants to know if you have any tips for a kid that's just starting to cook, Bobby.
Well, yes. I think that for a kid that's just starting to cook, I think what you want to do is make your favorite thing. So if it's mac and cheese or a hot dog or a hamburger or chicken fingers or some cool other dish that you saw, maybe a pasta dish, I think the best thing to do is tell your parents what you want to make and ask them to get the ingredients and cook along with them. And that's the best thing you can do is you can learn how to cook with somebody that knows how to cook. That's what I did when I started cooking. I started cooking with other chefs so that I would learn how to cook alongside of them. And then slowly but surely, you become your own cook. And that's the best way to do it.
Excellent.
Hey, Kathy, did you know that I have a small tiger in my house?
I think I did know you had a small tiger in your house. Is he around?
Let me see if I can find him. Nacho.
Anyone else follow Nacho Flay on Instagram? Raise your hand.
Nacho.
I am.
I know he looks like a small tiger, but he's just a regular cat. He's Nacho Flay. You can check him out on Instagram. He loves mac and cheese because it's kind of like the same color as him. That's how he kind of got named. He kind of got named because he's the color of nacho cheese. It's like that's who he is.
Look at that guy. Amazing.
Nacho. All right, Tiger. Look how long he is. I'll show you how long he is.
He's huge. He is like a small tiger. Yeah.
Oh no, he's gonna go off my shoulder. Okay. This is my favorite thing. We have any more questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So a bunch of people asking how you were when you first started cooking.
How old was I when I first started cooking? When I first started, the first thing I ever made was chocolate pudding on the stove. There was a company, I'm not sure if it still exists, but there's a company called Mighty Fine Chocolate Pudding. And it was instant chocolate pudding, just like you can make, instant mac and cheese. And I just remember stirring it. Remember how we just did this, the cheese sauce, and the cheese sauce was nacho. All right, you have to go over there. And we made the cheese sauce and it started to thicken. The same thing happened to me, Kathy, when I was first making the chocolate pudding. I couldn't believe as I stirred it in the pot, it actually got thicker. It was my first experience where food changed texture as you cooked it.
Oh.
And I'll never forget that. I was probably about 5 or 6 years old.
Amazing. Question from Sophia asking the difference between Parmesan and Parmigiano Reggiano. Good question, Sophia.
Okay, so Parmesan and Parmigiano are spelled differently. They kind of mean the same thing in a way, or they're related in the same way. When you see Parmesan, which is Parmsen or A-N, it usually is some version of a dry salty cheese that emulates what the real Parmigiano Reggiano from Italy is. To me, they call it the king of cheeses in the world, Parmigiano Reggiano, which is what we're using today. And it's a dry, somewhat salty cheese Parmigiano Reggiano is something I always have in my refrigerator because it's great on pizzas, on pasta. It's great on salads. It's great on mac and cheese. I mean, it's one of those things that you always just want to have around. I just like to snack on it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Karen has a 4.5-year-old daughter. She wants to know Bobby's favorite thing to cook.
My favorite thing to cook. Well, today it's mac and cheese. I change my mind every day. Whatever I'm cooking that day is my favorite thing to cook. Last night I cooked some steaks. The other day I cooked some pork chops. A few days ago we had amazing hot dogs, and we put them on the grill and then served all kinds of different condiments with them. And I also like a lot of fish too.
Excellent. Got a great
Because Nacho likes fish. You know, Nacho and I, we eat the same.
Nice. One meal, two people.
Exactly.
Yeah. Dennis is asking on behalf of Dawson, what is Bobby's birthday meal that he likes to eat? Good question.
My birthday meal. That is a really good question. I like to eat things that are like slow cooked. Where it's like a Sunday, and I love things like spaghetti and meatballs. I like chicken parmesan. I like old school Italian classic dishes. I like things like pork roast and beef roast and things like that. Those are my favorite things to eat.
Yeah. How about on the contrary? Vanessa's asking if you have a least favorite food.
A least favorite food. I would probably say my least favorite food is, what's my least favorite food? No idea. I mean, maybe lentils. I don't know why. I don't want to hate on lentils, but I don't eat a lot of lentils. Who wants lentils? We're gonna get our mac and cheese. Let's check on it. Come on over. You can see it. I'll put the light on. You can see it starting to bubble around the sides. And it's starting to get nice and brown on top. It probably needs another, in 2 minutes, we'll be ready to go.
Awesome. Let's see here. Let's take some more questions. How about a shout out? I want to give a little shout out to a few people cooking along with us today. Some are back from yesterday. Some are new. How about Logan in Plainview? What's up, Logan? Thanks for cooking along with us. We got Aaliyah in Massachusetts. Hey, Aaliyah. Sadie's cooking with us out in LA. She was with us yesterday. Thank you all for cooking along with us. We have birthdays and anniversaries. This is the best part of it. Nearly 10,000 of you cooking along. All the same thing right now. Everybody's eating mac and cheese. Not out of the blue box as we know, but the different blue box, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. We love Marilla. Okay. Kathy, I think I'm going to take this out.
Excellent. Yeah, okay? Let's give it a shot.
I think this mac and cheese has had enough time in the oven. And again, you want to make sure that your parents help you with this because it's incredibly hot. You want to use some sort of some kitchen mitts. I use a kitchen towel. Yum. There we go. And you can see around the edges, it's bubbling, and the top is nice and crusty, but not too brown, kind of like a very light golden brown color. And then in this case, you don't want to eat this right away. I mean, we don't want to wait too long, right. But we want to let it cool down a little bit. They like to say let the mac and cheese rest for a minute. It's kind of like cooking a piece of meat. You want to let the meat rest before you slice into it. For the mac and cheese, you want it to settle down. It's hot. It's bubbly. It's been working really hard to become delicious for you. At this point, you just want to give it a rest. I want to say about 4 or 5 minutes because otherwise it's just going to be way too hot to eat, and we don't want to burn our mouths for sure. We want it to cool down just a tiny bit. It won't take too long, but Rachel, I'm going to thank Rachel Ray first of all for inviting me to come and be a guest camp counselor for a day. I went to camp when I was a kid a lot, and we had a lot of mac and cheese in camp for sure. And so I want to thank Rachel for inviting me to be the guest counselor today. and also for this beautiful casserole dish that she sent me that I can cook my my mac and cheese in. There's this one and there's a small one, but like I just figured for today, Cappy, we needed the big one because we got a lot of people watching today.
Agreed. Agreed. Thank you, Bobby. We appreciate it. There you have it, campers. We could do some more Q&A, but a big thank you to today's guest camp counselor, Bobby Flay. Let's take a couple more questions. A lot of them on Iron Chef and Beat Bobby Flay. Lydia wants to know, Bobby, the hardest challenge on Beat Bobby Flay.
The hardest challenge on Beat Bobby Flay? Ooh, it's always some kind of dessert because I don't have the patience to bake. I'm not a good baker. So if anybody has any good baking tips out there, I would love to have them. It's usually some kind of cake or some kind of pie or something along those lines. I have a hard time with baking.
Yeah. And then Gabe is asking, is there a favorite person that you've battled on Iron Chef or Beat Bobby Flay?
Well, my favorite people on Beat Bobby Flay are people that are friends of mine. I mean, I have a lot of friends that come on and compete. I have a lot of friends that come on as judges, and I have a lot of friends that come on as co-hosts. So it's great when I have people like Michael Simon, who's like my best friend. You know, Sunny Anderson, who is always like lights up the arena when she's there. Ann Burrell, Alex Guanaschelli. I mean, you know, these people are like they're like family to me, and so you know we spend time off the camera, but we also spend a lot of time on camera. It's basically it's like the same thing, and it's just it's so much fun.
Awesome, awesome. Interesting question from Janice. Janice, thank you for asking. She's asking if you can use a nut milk instead of milk for the sauce, which, as we mentioned ahead of time, you know, find those ingredient substitutions that work for you. I don't think you could see this, but right here I have a box of Barilla, their gluten-free rotini. I happen to cook for a couple people that have some gluten intolerances, that have celiac. So I think Barilla's gluten-free rotini happens to be one of the best. But any thoughts on that, Bobby, for using?
Yeah, you know, I haven't made this with a nut milk like or an oat milk or something like that, but I'm guessing that would probably work because the flour and the butter will help to thicken it in one way, but also the American cheese and the Parmesan will actually help to thicken it even more. So my guess is that it probably would work.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Good question, Janice. Then also heads up for everybody in your thank you email, you're also going to get a link to Barilla's pasta activity guide, which has tons of fun activities and recipes for kids. Let's do one more question on here. Stephanie asking, favorite dish you've been cooking in quarantine?
Favorite dish I've been cooking in quarantine? I would say my favorite dish cooking in quarantine is I've been making a lot of focaccia lately. Although I haven't made it in the last few weeks, but like focaccia, which is basically like, it's like pizza dough without any toppings on it. And what's great about focaccia is that you can use it for sandwiches, you can use it to make toast, you can use it to make pizza.
Croutons.
You know, what's that?
Croutons.
You can use it to make croutons, you know, before it starts to gets too stale. Yeah, so it's very versatile. And it's like one of those things that takes a while because we've had a lot of time in quarantine. So like slow cooking things are a good thing to have because it's like making pizza. So if you know anything about making pizza dough, it's yeast and flour and some water, maybe some olive oil. Basically, those are the ingredients. And you have to wait for the yeast to go to work, and makes the dough itself kind of puffy. And they call it proofing, but it just basically means it's kind of the yeast and the flour are becoming friends, and it's getting nice and light. But that takes time, and you can't really rush that. And so usually I let that happen overnight, and the next day I bake it off, and then I have focaccia for a couple of days.
Sounds delicious. Thank you again to Bobby Flay, and have a great rest of your day, everybody. We hope to see you back in the kitchen for another day at